I want to read a post I came across on Facebook and give you some of my thoughts on it. This is a man. He says, I'm 48 years old and I've been married for 27 years and I have 6 kids. Our sex life has never really been what I expected or wanted to since our first pregnancy. There have been several times throughout the marriage, usually with postpartum and nursing, where we will go 2+ years with zero intimacy. This has caused much resentment on my part and has led me to justify occasional pornography use and masturbation. I also violated her trust in a handful of ways, which I'm not going to get into here. That's created a huge rift and further damage to the relationship. I have mixed feelings about masturbation and feel that just taking care of things myself is better than pestering my wife for something she has clearly told me repeatedly she is not ready for and doesn't know if or when she will be, talking about intimacy. I have a chronic prostate issue that requires regular ejaculations to keep under control, and I've decided that masturbation is my best and only option, but there is always guilt involved, and my wife is completely appalled by it and thinks it is sinful no matter what, and this doesn't help her desire for me either. I have not been the best husband. We fight a lot about intimacy, and I have not conducted myself in the most mature ways and have taken off for hours at a time and sometimes overnight. This has also caused major damage to the relationship. All of these, combined with some of my ADHD issues, have led my wife to not even being able to be near me physically, and she often expresses this fact in not very positive ways. It has been 5 years since we were last intimate, and there is no end in sight. If I tell her I can't be in a marriage like this and suggest divorce, she expresses to me how terrible that is and that I would just leave her alone with all of our kids and all of their problems and just leave. She then tells me how she cannot be intimate in such an unstable marriage. It seems like there's just too much damage, and anytime I try to talk to her about working together to fix our marriage, she lists off all the things that I keep doing, like losing my temper, taking off, threatening divorce, etc., as reasons why she will not even try to work on the marriage. She says that if I can't give her stability and consistency and kindness, even when there is no reciprocity, then she can't try. It's like I have to complete a checklist of things and prove myself changed before she will invest. This is really hard to feel like I have to do all the work before she will, and it is hard to keep up the motivation in being considerate and helpful and not get frustrated or irritated with her without any effort on her part. I have recently started to abstain from masturbation and try to pray more, read my scriptures, and I'm trying really hard to fight off my resentment and be a good husband and father. I am about 11 days in and don't see how this will be sustainable. When I try to talk to my wife about what I should do or what she thinks my options are, she emphatically states that she wants to be left out of it. She doesn't want to condone masturbation and claims she is not the judge of these things and that it shouldn't be up to her to determine if it is right or wrong, but she's constantly reminding me not to pressure her and don't even suggest it. So I'm seemingly left with no choice or options. I can't go to church leaders because the church leader and his wife are long time close friends, and going to them and letting them know what's going on in the marriage would be mortifying and embarrassing for the wife because of his behaviors. She really thinks that I have an addiction and that the things I do are sick and that I shouldn't have to have sex and that it is not her job to service me when our relationship is like this. I don't know what to do. I'm hopeless and I don't know how to move forward when she is clearly so disgusted with me and there is so much damage to our relationship, which I openly admit is mostly my fault because of some really bad choices I have made in desperation. I don't foresee me ever being able to prove myself for long enough to earn her actually trying to step in herself, and leaving is not really an option for a multitude of reasons. I truly feel stuck and I don't know what to do. I love my wife, I truly do. I admire her, and think she's an amazing, selfless, and determined mother to our children. She will stop at nothing to help our kids with whatever they need, but I don't feel she has any desire to even apply a fraction of that determination to our marriage. It's like she's accepted things as they are. I tell her she has a low sex drive, and I have no idea how she can just be okay never having sex again. She says she has desire, just not from me, and this really hurts. There's no solution, and she insists that my sexual problems and all of my behaviors are the cause, and that her resulting fears toward me are just the natural consequence. Essentially, I ruined it, and she is justified in her position and is doing nothing wrong by feeling the way she feels. She says she shouldn't have to be intimate with her husband in order for him to be a decent guy. And why would anyone want to be intimate with someone who violated her? She often calls me her perpetrator. It's like she can't see anything good in me anymore, just all of my bad choices. If I can't be decent and make these changes in my behaviors, then why should she try? I truly believe that if we both jumped in and gave it a true try, I felt if I felt loved and had reciprocation for my love and affection, it would improve my demeanor in the marriage and it would continue to improve. But instead, we are in a holding pattern indefinitely. Any words of advice that are not divorce would be greatly appreciated. I love my wife and want us to be happy, not just for us, but for the example of our kids. Our older kids think we hate each other, and we are aware we are always bickering and fighting over everything. Please help. This is going to be a difficult thing to respond to, and not because I don't have a lot of helpful insights and things to share on this, but because the things that I would say might be really hard to hear. So before I get into it, I want to talk about shame a little bit. Shame is about how you see yourself. If you define yourself as being bad or being wrong or being not enough, then when you hear advice talking about things that you need to change, you're more likely to internalize that as it's because I am the problem. I am bad. That is not what I'm trying to do. When I am talking about things that could be changed, I'm looking at what are the thoughts, what are the actions, what are the patterns. I want to address those things. I am not attacking the person specifically. So let's get into it. So, first of all, I want to say in my marriage, yeah, we've had times with the whole postpartum, the baby needs to nurse. My wife is exhausted. She's not getting enough sleep. She can feel touched out where she doesn't want physical contact by the end of the day. Or if she does, she just wants to be held and comforted. She doesn't want to be intimate. That's totally understandable and reasonable with the experience of having a baby. Raising and nurturing a baby takes a lot out of your wife. And I have had times where I have felt resentment during that window of time because I feel frustrated because I want to be intimate, but there are all of these extra barriers that are added on. That can be frustrating. And the moments that I feel resentment are when I'm more focused on myself and less on what her experience is. When I am respecting what she's going through, when I shift my focus to doing everything that I can to provide what she needs, to help her get the rest that she needs, to help her get the time of no physical contact, to help her feel heard and comforted, to just hold her. In those moments, I am providing for her. I'm not thinking about myself and my needs. But the interesting thing is, when I'm in that state, when I'm just providing and giving to her, then the reciprocity comes back to me because she appreciates my efforts. She appreciates the ability to get rest. She appreciates my honoring her physical boundaries of not wanting to be touched. And all of that deepens the relationship. It builds trust and it builds companionship. I want to talk a little bit about emotional needs here because part of the frustration that I've heard from other men is saying, well, but I need sex. I want to be intimate. Sex, intimacy, it's not an emotional need. Emotional needs are things like being heard, being valued, being respected, and she has those same needs. So when I in the past have focused on, well, intimacy is what I want, and if I'm not getting that, now I'm frustrated and resentful. What I'm not doing is paying attention to what her emotional needs are to try and fill them. I'm trying to meet what I am calling my needs. Again, intimacy itself, the actual physical act of intimacy, it's not an emotional need. What is an emotional need is what underpins that, which is the trust, the respect, the mutual care. And that, all of those things can be filled in lots of ways apart from physical intimacy, like caring words, providing for their comfort, listening to them, hearing about their experiences, their challenges, and doing things to help alleviate some of those challenges for them. All of that shows care and helps to fill emotional needs. Along those lines, let's talk about masturbation. It's not an emotional need, it's not even a physical need. You can survive without it. Here, you clearly know that you're doing that is affecting how she perceives trust in the relationship. It causes emotional damage from her perspective. So every time you do it, it's making things worse in her eyes. So when you're saying, well, I can take care of myself, which helps to not pester her because she clearly doesn't want to be intimate, but is it truly not pestering her when you go to do that? Or is it just postponing the pestering and letting it build up until she gets bludgeoned with the knowledge that you have been disrespecting the knowledge that you have of what causes her pain by going out and doing things that you know cause her pain? It stacks up, it builds, and it causes a big problem. I also want to call into question the prostate issue, because you say that ejaculation is required to alleviate symptoms. That's not medically accurate. It's not a requirement. It might alleviate symptoms, but so does diet, so does nutrition, so does proper sleep, so do medications, so do a lot of other things besides masturbation. And if that is deepening the rift in your marriage, then explore other options might be better than what you're currently doing. So let's talk about these other elements where you say you acknowledge that you've not been the best husband, where you have conducted yourself in immature ways and taken off for hours at a time and sometimes even overnight. Have you ever wondered what her experience is when you do those things? Does she feel abandoned, unsupported? Does she worry about where you are? What are you doing? What are you getting into? All of that. It's fear, and it's a big, big threat that she has shouldered every time you do that. So while you're saying that you're frustrated that she's not wanting to be intimate with you, she's saying that she doesn't think that she can be intimate when the marriage itself is so unstable. Intimacy is like the final fruit that grows after the roots and the tree and the branches, the leaves, all of that has grown in a really healthy way. Intimacy is the fruit of a healthy and resilient relationship. What she is saying is the security isn't there, the stability isn't there, the health isn't there. So the fruit can't grow. And I get that you feel frustrated by that, saying, well, if I had intimacy, then I would act differently. You're wanting the fruit before the tree has been tended to. That's not how it works. She requires safety and security to to enter into that environment with you. And it's your responsibility to provide that through consistency with your actions. Uh, I sense some hesitancy on your wanting to call your behaviors an addiction. In my personal experience, I define an addiction as anything that you do repeatedly despite it having a negative impact on your life. Your behaviors, your thoughts, your actions, they are having a negative impact on your life repeatedly, cyclically, and have been for years. If you call that an addiction, which by the way just means a repeated negative pattern, then you can access tools to help address it. I'm not saying you are an addict. That is an identity thing to say, well, I am an addict. It's a permanent thing. And I don't believe that. It, yeah, your brain gets wired to repeat a pattern over and over again, but you can retrain that and learn new patterns and step into a different identity of someone who doesn't act in those ways, who doesn't lose your control over your anger. You mentioned here that you've taken a break from masturbating for 11 days and you don't see how that can be sustained long term. You've gotten to a point where it feels uncomfortable to enter new territory and you're not sure what's going to happen. Growth requires uncomfortable change. It requires entering new territory and facing uncertainty, a new learning process because you haven't been there before. All of that can feel really intimidating. But, 11 days out of a marriage of 27 years, that's hardly a blip on the map. It's not nearly enough time for you to learn a new way of being. And it's definitely not enough time for your wife to see consistent effort. This is long term pain that has been happening in the relationship, and it's going to take time for that to unravel. You need to be the one to be consistent on your side with your stuff. That's what ownership is. And until you do that, she will not come around. She's been waiting for a long time for you to show up for the marriage. And by the way you're describing it, it sounds like you haven't been. And you're aware of it and you acknowledge it, which is huge. But at the same time, just acknowledging it is not the same as taking responsibility for improving it. It can take a lot of emotional effort to get to the point where you openly acknowledge I have made mistakes. That can be feel like a big effort. But in the grand scheme of things, that's just the very first step. Admitting it out loud, it's just words. The long-term consistency of actions and words, behaviors, thought patterns, that is the real work of fixing the problem that your mistakes have caused. That's what ownership is. It's a big challenge, but it's yours to shoulder because they were your actions, they were your behaviors, they were your thoughts that led to the relationship getting to where it is now. It's yours to shoulder. I know that's hard to hear, but it's true. Your wife is frustrated when you go to her and ask her what you should do, what she thinks your options are. She doesn't want to be a part of those conversations because you're basically saying, I know that I've hurt you in really big ways. I've caused a big mess. And also, can you clean it up? Can you help clean it up? And she's saying, no, this is your mess. You have done these things. You have broken trust. She wants you to clean it up. And that means doing the hard work of thinking through what your options are. You've told yourself that you don't have options, but she has told you that you're angry, that you just leave, that you threaten divorce. Just not doing those things, that's three options right there. You mentioned that you can't go to church leaders because of your close connection with them and you don't want the embarrassment factor there. Okay, does that mean that you truly can't or that you're just not willing to because of the discomfort. Or let's say if you want to avoid that altogether, that still doesn't leave you completely optionless, because there are unbiased third party, there are therapists, there are counselors, there are support groups, there are other people with resources, coaches, that have things to help you that don't have that close friendship that could threaten your current relationships. There are options, and you're telling yourself that you don't. You're not considering them, which is got to be painful for her to hear, because I'm sure she could come up with a whole running list of options that you have available to you too. You just have to have eyes to see it. You say that you love your wife and that you absolutely admire how selfless she is, how she would do anything for her kids, and how hard it is for you to see her not willing to give some of that tenacity into repairing the marriage. This is my question for you. If you admire those qualities so much in her, why not try to emulate them? Become selfless. Do everything that it takes to help your marriage if you want to preserve it. Being selfless means letting go of the desire for intimacy, letting go of what you want out of the relationship, and just go into giving mode. This is It's called a sacrifice for a reason, but sacrifice isn't what people typically think it is. They always think it's giving something up and just losing out on that thing. What true sacrifice is giving up something in exchange for something better. What you want, what you desire, what you're expressing here, you want to have a marriage that is fulfilling, that's satisfying, that's exalting, that's amazing. And in order to get there, you have to give up some patterns. You have to give up actions that you're doing. You have to develop new skills. And all of that is going to require you to do more than you are currently doing. She's been waiting for you to do this for a long time. That's why she doesn't want to keep putting energy into the relationship when she sees that on your side, you're not pulling your equal weight as she sees it. If you truly do love your wife and you want to be with her long term, if you want to preserve your family, then don't even bring up divorce. That's not an option, because it's not actually what you want. What you want is to preserve the marriage. So speak towards, and then start taking actions that move you closer towards the goal of preserving your family and keeping it together. For instance, if the way that you are expressing anger is causing a rift, then facing that and learning new ways to express your frustration, or shifting your mindset so that those frustrations disappear, will be moving you closer towards bringing the relationship closer together. If just leaving makes her feel abandoned or unsupported, finding new ways to communicate what you need. I think I need a break. I'm going to be gone for just this short amount of time. This is what I'm going to be doing, and I'll come back. That's more communication than she might be getting right now, and it might help her feel safe. Or you could say, I'm just going to step just outside the door for a few minutes instead of just taking off and leaving. Or I'm just going to go to a different room. Or I'm going to figure out what makes me feel so uncomfortable that I have to leave in the first place. And I'm going to work on that so that I get to a point where I feel comfortable staying in the room and talking back and forth, staying present. All of that can increase the amount of safety that she feels in the relationship. I say all these things because I've been there. For me, it wasn't anger. For me, it was stonewalling, where I just would go blank and just not open up, not talk anymore. But I absolutely would withdraw from conversations that felt too uncomfortable. And I had to learn over time what caused that anxiety in me, and is that how I really want to approach the situation. And I learned how to change and how to sit in the conversation. The biggest thing that I had to learn over time was that even though I wanted her to engage with me and to work together with me, my actions had harmed her. I had hurt her. And so, yeah, when I think about her as a person and her needs and what experience I put her through, it makes total sense why she didn't want to engage with me. But I have developed these skills and the patience of enduring the process of changing my thoughts and actions to the point where those issues are all resolved. We love spending time together because she feels safety in every sense of the word because I have consistently provided it for her. It is possible to turn this whole ship around. It will take consistent, persistent effort to change the way you are currently going about things, but it is possible. And life can truly get so much better on the other side. To get there, though, you have to let go of the idea that if I change A, B, and C, then she will do this, this, this. You have to let go of all expectation of her changing and just fully commit to you changing for yourself and for your marriage. And her turning around to face you and to be willing to approach you and engage with you, that is entirely on her terms. You can't buy it with your actions. You just have to be consistently there for her so that when she is ready, you'll be there. That is how you show commitment, a willingness to stay in the marriage, to do whatever it takes selflessly over time. That can feel hard. It feels like you're surrendering the relationship by not expecting anything from her. But by surrendering, by letting go of any obligation put on her part to act or behave or to think or to feel a certain way, if you're just focusing on you and how you show up to the marriage and how you want to be to help the marriage flourish, then you are going to create the environment that will give her the highest potential to heal in time. If your marriage is struggling with issues like the ones I shared today, comment workshop below and I'll send you information on an upcoming 2-day workshop that my wife and I will be hosting, talking about how to go through the transformation from riddled with these kinds of problems to becoming best friends again. If you're new to my channel, like and subscribe if you want to hear more content like this. If you know someone who is struggling with this kind of an issue, share this video with them so that they can get an additional resource to help them out. And if you're new to my channel, my name is Ryan Carnahan. I help married men do the inner and outer work necessary to preserve their families and to find fulfillment in life.